The Super Bowl isn't just a game, it's a game watched by millions of Americans and is filled with unforgettable moments, including thrilling touchdowns and halftime surprises. But there is a topic that often gets lost in the glamour of the most watched sporting event in the USA, the Super Bowl hangover. At several points in NFL history, teams have gone on to play the Super Bowl in one season and completely flop in the very next. In today's video, we will talk about some of the most shocking Super Bowl hangovers, which left everyone, especially the fans, in shock. Let's begin. The 1999 Atlanta Falcons shocked the NFL world when they soared to a 14-2 record and made an improbable run to Super Bowl 33. But just 1 year later, the team came crashing down and became a textbook example of a Super Bowl hangover. It didn't take too long for the team to face a major setback. Just minutes into the season opener against the Minnesota Vikings, star running back Jamal Anderson, who had rushed 1,846 yards in 1998, suffered a season-ending ACL injury. Falcons depended heavily on the Dirty Bird offense, and without Anderson's ground attack, the responsibility of taking the team forward fell on the shoulders of Chris Chandler, who was battling injuries of his own. The problem didn't end on offense. The defense, which had given the 1998 Falcons several impossible wins, couldn't generate the same magic in the next season. Veterans like Jesse Tuggle and Cornelius Bennett struggled to keep up, which resulted in a defensive decline. By midseason, it was clear this was not the same that had stunned the league the year before. After starting 0-4, their playoff hopes were effectively dead before October. Chandler struggled with injuries throughout the season, and the team's inability to run the ball without Anderson made them predictable. The losses piled up, and defeats to teams like the Rams and Tampa Bay Buccaneers showed just how far the Falcons had fallen. A year after winning 14 games, Atlanta finished the 1999 season with a disappointing 5-11 record, marking one of the worst turnarounds for a Super Bowl runner-up in NFL history. 2013 San Francisco 49ers. The 2012 San Francisco 49ers had come within inches of Super Bowl glory, falling just short against the Baltimore Ravens in Super Bowl 47. But the following year, the 49ers found themselves battling against the curse of the Super Bowl hangover. Unlike many past runner-up teams, San Francisco didn't collapse entirely in 2013. They still had one of the NFL's most talented rosters, led by head coach Jim Harbaugh and quarterback Colin Kaepernick. But despite their talent, the 49ers had a season filled with missed opportunities. The Super Bowl 47 runner-up team stumbled from the very start when an early season blowout loss to the Seattle Seahawks exposed shortcomings in their offense. Kaepernick, who had taken the league by storm the previous year, struggled with consistency. The problems further increased with Michael Crabtree's health issues for much of the season, which meant the offense depended heavily on veteran running back Frank Gore. Although the 49ers remained relatively stable defensively, led by Patrick Willis, injuries and suspensions laid hurdles in their run. Star pass rusher Aldon Smith missed time due to off-field issues and voluntarily entered a rehabilitation facility to be put onto the non-football injury list, with an indefinite leave of absence. He missed 5 games for the 49ers while in rehabilitation. Despite the challenges, San Francisco remained competitive, finishing with a strong 12-4 record. But the road to another Super Bowl was far from easy. In the playoffs, they battled past the Green Bay Packers and Carolina Panthers before running into their bitter rivals, Seattle Seahawks, in the NFC Championship and losing a close game. The 2013 season wasn't a complete disaster for the 49ers, but for a team with another Super Bowl aspiration, it was a bitter pill to swallow. In the 2001 season, the St. Louis Rams looked like an unstoppable force, finishing the regular season with a 14-2 record, reaching Super Bowl 36. But their shocking loss to the New England Patriots began a decline that they couldn't recover from the 2002 season. Things started going wrong from the very start of the season. The greatest show on turf, once a high-flying offensive machine, lost its golden touch. Quarterback Kurt Warner, the most valuable player of the 2001 season, had a miserable start, throwing just 3 touchdowns and getting intercepted 11 times in the first 4 games. He was later sidelined for most of the season because of a broken finger, which meant the Rams had to rely on backup Mark Bulger. The offense also lost its explosiveness without Warner at full strength. Running back Marshall Faulk wasn't as effective as before, but offense wasn't the only problem. The defense, which had been respectable in 2001, completely fell apart, and the team suddenly appeared undisciplined. The losing streak spiraled out of control. The Rams, who had just lost 2 games in the previous year, started the 2002 season 0-5 and ended with a disappointing 7-9 record, which was an unexpected collapse for a team that had been a championship favorite just a year before. From there on, the greatest show on turf never truly recovered, and by the mid-2000s, the Rams had become a mediocre team. The 2004 Philadelphia Eagles had finally broken through, reaching Super Bowl 39 after more than 2 decades of NFC Championship heartbreaks. However, they lost to the New England Patriots by a narrow margin, which kickstarted a disastrous 2005 campaign. The Eagles initially looked solid as a contender for the second consecutive Super Bowl appearance. Donovan McNabb returned at quarterback, and the team retained much of the core that had helped the team reach Super Bowl 39. However, issues started to rise even before the season began. Star wide receiver Terrell Owens, who had heroically played through injury in the Super Bowl, became embroiled in the contract dispute with the team, which was a huge distraction for everyone as the season progressed. McNabb, on the other hand, struggled with injuries early on, including a sports hernia that negatively affected his effectiveness. Despite his efforts to play through the pain, his performance dipped, and with Owens openly criticizing him, the team dynamic deteriorated rapidly. After continued disputes with management and teammates, Owens was suspended and later deactivated for the rest of the season. Without Owens, the Eagles' offense lacked the spark they had shown in the previous season, leaving journeyman QB Mike McMahon to lead an uninspiring attack. Apart from internal conflicts, some other key players, Brian Dawkins and Siobhan Kearse, also got injured, which made the Eagles plummet down the standings and finish the 2005 season with a shocking 6-10 record, which was a stunning fall from grace for the Super Bowl 39 runner-up. Let's now talk about the Chicago Bears that had dominated their way to Super Bowl 41 in the 2006 season, but they couldn't recover from their loss to the Indianapolis Colts on football's biggest stage, and the following 2007 season proved to be a disappointment. From the very start, the Bears struggled to recapture the magic of their last year's successful run. Quarterback Rex Grossman, who had been inconsistent throughout 2006, saw his struggles magnified in 2007. He was benched after just 3 games due to poor performances, forcing the team to turn to backup Brian Grease and later Kyle Orton. The constant quarterback shuffle left the offense without stability, and the Bears' passing attack never found its rhythm. The team had let Thomas Jones go in the offseason, putting their trust in young running back Cedric Benson. But Benson failed to live up to expectations, averaging just 3.4 yards per carry before an injury ended his season early. The defense, which was once the Bears' greatest strength, also began to crack. Main players including linebacker Brian Urlacher and defensive tackle Tommy Harris got injured, which made it difficult for the rest to stop the runs and generate turnovers. Special teams, a major asset in their Super Bowl run thanks to return specialist Devin Hester, remained a bright spot. But even Hester's electrifying play couldn't hide deeper issues the Bears were facing. The team was part of several close games throughout the 2007 season, including against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 6 of the regular season, but simply couldn't close out. This inability to win close margin games left the Chicago Bears with a 5-7 record by early December, which effectively eliminated them from playoff contention. And by the end of the season, the Bears finished with a disappointing 7-9 record, missing the playoffs entirely. Now let's move on to the Carolina Panthers, who had taken the 2015 NFL season by storm after finishing 15-1 and reaching Super Bowl 50. In the ultimate game of the season, the Panthers lost to the Denver Broncos, and what followed next was a classic example of a Super Bowl hangover. From the outset, the Panthers struggled to regain their dominant form. Their offensive line, which had been exposed by Denver's pass rush in the Super Bowl, remained a prominent weakness. Cam Newton had played with extreme confidence in the 2015 season with 35 touchdowns at 3,837 yards, but didn't live up to the expectations in 2016. He suffered repeated hits, including a brutal headshot in Week 1 against the Broncos. His numbers declined to 19 touchdowns and 14 interceptions in 2016. The running game also faltered, with Jonathan Stewart battling injuries and inconsistency in ground attacks to assist Newton in his plays. As a result, Newton became an easy target for opponents' defenses. Defensively, the biggest blow to the Panthers came with the departure of cornerback Josh Norman, who had been an anchor in the previous season. Without him, the pass defense became a major liability, which cost the team several big plays. Even though the front seven, led by Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis, remained solid, it wasn't enough to make up for the big loopholes in the team's strategy. Special teams also contributed to the Panthers' downfall. The once reliable Graham Gano missed several critical field goals throughout the season, costing the team valuable points in close games, including against the Kansas City Chiefs and Oakland Raiders. By the time the season neared its conclusion, it was clear the Panthers were not even close to the team that had reached the Super Bowl the previous year. They finished the season with a disappointing 6-10 record, finishing fourth in the NFC South Division and failing to qualify for the playoffs. Another brilliant example of a Super Bowl hangover is the 2003 NFL campaign of the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders reached the Super Bowl 37 with the league's top offense, but failed to win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This defeat, however, was only the beginning of their troubles, as the 2003 season proved a complete failure. Right from the start, the Raiders looked like a team in free fall. Their offense, which had been unstoppable under quarterback Rich Gannon, quickly unraveled. Gannon, the reigning MVP, struggled early in the season before suffering a season-ending shoulder injury. His absence left the Raiders without a leader and forced the team to switch between journeyman quarterbacks like Rick Mirer and Marquez Tuiasosopo. The running game was equally ineffective. Veteran running back Charlie Garner, who had been an important weapon in 2002, faced injuries that caused him to be less effective compared to the previous season. Without a consistent ground attack, the offensive line also showed signs of weakness. And it wasn't the offense only, things were equally bad defensively too. The Raiders' once stout run defense collapsed, allowing opponents to control the clock and wear them down. The secondary, which had been solid in their 2002 Super Bowl run, failed to generate turnovers. Due to this, the Raiders experienced several blowout losses, including a 7-41 loss to the Green Bay Packers. The team's chemistry was also badly exposed. Longtime veterans began to openly clash with head coach Bill Callahan, whose grip on the locker room weakened as the season spiraled out of control. By mid-season, reports of internal conflicts became common, and the Raiders seemed completely directionless. The final result was a disastrous 4-12 record, marking one of the worst single-season declines in NFL history. Just months after becoming AFC champions, the Raiders found themselves at the bottom of standings, ending a forgettable season. The 2017 Philadelphia Eagles had shocked the world, winning Super Bowl 52 with a backup quarterback and overcoming unfavorable odds at every turn. But their attempt to defend their title in 2018 quickly turned into a struggle as injuries, inconsistency, and locker room drama derailed their season. From the start of the 2018 season, things felt different. Carson Wentz, who had been playing at an MVP level before tearing his ACL in 2017, returned in Week 3 but never quite looked the same. He struggled with accuracy early on and battled through a back injury later in the season. It was very clear that the Eagles' offense didn't have the same explosiveness it had in their previous season's run to Super Bowl victory. The running game also took a step back in 2018. Jay Ajayi suffered a torn ACL early in the season, and the team never found a reliable replacement. Without dominance in ground attack, the Eagles had to rely on their passing game, which was inconsistent. The injuries weren't limited to the offense only. The defense also faced the same issue. Multiple starters, including Ronald Darby and Jalen Mills, went down with season-ending injuries, which greatly impacted the overall combination. Apart from injuries, the team's chemistry also seemed off. Several reports of tension in the locker room and players questioning Wentz's leadership frequently surfaced throughout the 2018 season. The 2017 team went into the season with an underdog mentality. However, the 2018 team had fans attaching high expectations for it, which also contributed to its below-par performance. By mid-season, the Eagles sat at 4-6, far from the dominance of the previous year. Just when it seemed their season was gone, Nick Foles, just as he had done in the previous year, stepped in for an injured Wentz and led the team to victories in the second part. The Eagles won their final 3 games to finish 9-7 and sneaked into the playoffs. Though they managed to upset the Chicago Bears in the wild card round, their luck ran out in the divisional round against the New Orleans Saints, which officially ended their attempt to repeat the glorious run of the 2017 season. So these were some of the most unexpected Super Bowl hangovers in NFL history. Do let us know in the comments section if you have any other hangovers in mind. And before you leave, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.